Join the team.
Hey team, this is McGuire Review, and we're going to take a look at some really cool little miniatures that were sent to us. And frankly, I was going to do just some Instagram and Twitter work of these, but after I got them out and was looking at them, they really are some really cool sculpts and miniatures. And I do want to take a few minutes here and do a short video just to go over these new Krakenships miniatures. Now, you will be able to find some information on this company in the description of the video below, so you can check that out. I'll have some links there where you can find these. We do have 4 of them. The Forest Guardian, and I'll take these out in here in a minute. The Female Druid, the Forest Guardian Male Druid, so it's pretty awesome. We got some Druid sculpts, one of my favorites. And then we have the Forest Guardian Female Barbarian, as well as the Male Barbarian. So those are the 4 sculpts that we have here to take a look at quickly. And these are the standard 1-inch circular diameter base, as well as they are in scale with the 28mm figures. Although these are Guardians, they do represent a little bit of a taller figure. It says here on the back that the figure height represents a 7-foot 7-inch tall Guardian at 1/58 scale. So it is supposed to be a little bit more of a taller being than what you would normally have. Your standard 6-foot representation or model. So this is still within line of the 28mm scale. So if you're thinking about your scaling of your figures, that's what you're going to want to use this with. I did not break these open and open them just yet because I wanted to show you the packaging. I know this might actually be kind of just a review or an initial sort of packaging. I actually really love the packaging of how they went about this. I like this little cylinder tube that they're in. That is a nice clear plastic. It's not a hazy. It's a pretty clear plastic that you can see right through, and you can clearly see the figure and all the figure's details. And I like the small form factor and individual small form factor of these little packages. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Packaging does matter, and I really like the packaging style here. So I wanted to show that. Let's go ahead and get the female the female Druid out first. So we'll set that packaging aside. You probably could even take this off and use. You know what? You could probably get creative. Take this off. Take a blade and cut that, and actually use that as a little stand, because it would be flat on the bottom, and you could set that right on something and actually encase that miniature. I don't know. That's pretty cool. You could use it for that, I guess, if you wanted to. I don't know. I think about all these little creative things you could do with packaging. So it is made of a softer plastic. So it's definitely got. So now we're going to get into a little bit of the quality here. It's definitely got some bend there, which I don't have a problem with. The bottom has got definitely some flex. It's not a super hard plastic. I don't have a problem with that at all. I think that actually works a little bit better most of the time because things don't just break and crack, especially when you get into this kind of stuff. Like you'll see this staff here that she's holding. It is completely movable, okay? It is a completely flexible, pliable piece of plastic. The whole thing is. Her little antlers are a little stiffer, but this is very pliable and movable. I think that's actually designed pretty well when they do that. And the reason is because that's such a slender little piece there. If someone's like, moving it around, and depending on what they do, and they grab it and they push it with their thumb, they could crack that little piece right off. That's never going to happen because that plastic is like that. And there was no warping or problems that I've seen in the packaging. I think that's why the packaging works really well. And I haven't seen any warping while it's just been in the packaging. Sometimes, depending on heat or cold that gets to it, it can cause some warping. There's been no problems from that perspective either. When I look at the sculpt, I think the sculpt is pretty good. I think it has a decent amount of sculpting and detail to it. Could it have more? It could. I mean, honestly, just review-wise, it definitely could have some more detail. Although I think it has plenty enough. I'm probably being a little overcritical. The amount of detail there there is definitely a good amount of detail there. You can see in the feet. Bear, load up the miniature cam. So we're going to get these down. As I open these, talk through them, you'll be able to see on the miniature cam. There is a good amount of detail that are on these sculpts. And it's, you know, it's a pretty cool sculpt. So there's the female Druid. Let's get the male Druid out. And he's got a good look as well. Nice. Now his staff is a little bit bulkier. It does still have some pliable movement to it. And one thing that I do notice on this model is it's very clear that this model is, you know, constructed and molded in multiple pieces. You can see a top piece as well as a bottom piece. And that piece has got a pretty hard line there right in the middle. You'll be able to see on the miniature cam really well where those two pieces are put together. So if that really bothers you, you're obviously going to have to do some filler work there, fill that in before you go ahead and prime it and paint it so it looks like it's one solid piece. Now, you might be able to get away depending on, you could paint a belt right there and it would just disappear because it would basically be the belt line and you could really get away with that. I don't know, maybe that wouldn't bother most, but as being someone who does collect miniatures, paints miniatures, that definitely would bother me once it was painted, and it would probably really stand out once it was painted because the washes would fill into that crack, and then that would be a problem. So didn't really experience that at all on this one. This looks like one solid sculpt outside the arms, so this one did not have that problem. This definitely suffers from that. But again, it's easily fixable, and you're going to find that on a lot of sculpts, you know, regardless of where you're getting it. So it's not terrible. It's not bad. But it's definitely something that I would say from a review perspective, they can continue to work on and figure out how to do those joints and those molds maybe a little bit more effectively. This one here, again, the female Barbarian, looks like a solid sculpt except for the sword on her back and the arms. So again, not really suffering from any of those hard line issues like we saw on this guy. And he's the only guy so far we've seen that. This is an awesome sculpt. I really like this one. This might be my favorite so far. I really love this female Druid, but this one might be my favorite so far, the female Barbarian. She's kind of holding the dual axe with the big, you know, sword on her back. Just an awesome, awesome look. And she's got kind of the elvish ears there going, and she's got just the right amount of detail. I don't have any problem with the amount of detail that is on her. All the detail looks to be there just right for what she's wearing. And I even like the way that they sculpted that back cloak. It's got a lot of deep flowing pockets in it. I think that's going to look really good when that's painted up and washed up. All right, here's the last one, and we're going to call it quits. This is the male Barbarian. Now, in looking at the male Barbarian, it doesn't look like it suffers from any of those cracks or pieces. I would say this is the only model that really suffers from that. These other ones don't at all. They all look very solid, very well done. And I like this sculpt as well. One thing that I really like about this is he's carrying a larger sort of almost Thor-like Groot kind of handled axe, which looks really good. But I love the dual axes attached there, kind of cross into, I don't want to say that's a shield because it doesn't look like a shield. It's just something that's sort of holding on his back, those two axes together. And it just looks really cool as it's those two axes there on his back. I think it's a good pose. I really like the Barbarians. You know, the Barbarians might come out being the ones that I do like a little bit better. I really like the way that these worked out. Although this female Druid is pretty cool. I mean, she's got the antlers. She's got the little satchel. I do really like the look. I love the long sort of dreadlock type hair that's on the back there. I'm not sure if those are dreadlocks, but no, they're not dreadlocks. It's just a longer, thicker, kind of heavier sculpted hair. But there is some little pieces of something that are sort of in the hair that's kind of cool. So, you know, those could be leaves or whatever you would want that to be. I'd probably paint those up to be like little leaves kind of in her hair as her hair kind of flows down. And it's nice and long. So out of the four, these are my 3 favorites. This guy needs some work as far as how that line there is. And again, maybe it's just the one that I got, but the line's pretty prominent, and I just really can't get over that. But these here look really good, and I'm actually pretty impressed with this line. So I'd like to see more of them as they continue to build this line out and build these out. We'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll get more of these on the channel, and we'll be able to see some more of these into the future, as well as even things that are outside of little miniature sculpts. Maybe they do some other types of things as well. Okay, so that is Krakenships sculpts. Go check them out if you're interested and take a look at these. Hit that like, click the subscribe below to join the team. Keep rolling, crits. This has been the McGuire Review, and we'll see you next time, Bear. Let's roll!